in part 2 of our series, All I Want for Christmas Is. All I Want for Christmas Is. And it reminded me, when I was preparing, it reminded me of a story about my wife. It was a couple years ago, and we were at my parents' house for Christmas. And the way we open presents, I don't know how you guys do it, maybe I'll ask you guys. How many of you, when it comes to Christmas time, you guys just all open at the same time? It's a free-for-all. How many people do that? Say a couple people. You guys are wrong, by the way. It's not the way you're supposed to do it. Okay? Jesus still loves you and everything, whatever, but you are wrong when it comes out of your present. You're supposed to open presents where everyone takes turns, and we watch. It takes forever, I get it, but it makes Christmas last longer. Why are you going to speed up Christmas? It's only one day. So we, as a family, we always take turns, and we watch everyone open it. And my favorite part when we do it is my dad makes fun of every gift. That's my favorite part of it. That's got to be my gift. But one day, my wife, we got my mom a present, and my wife wanted to add to the present. See, my wife's a teacher, and so as teacher, she gets a lot of Christmas presents. But a lot of people give her gifts that she doesn't necessarily like. If you're trying to think, what do I get my kid's teacher for Christmas? Gift cards. That's it, okay? If you're thinking, what do I get my pastor for Christmas? Cash money is all I want, okay? So Christmas time, she gets a lot of gifts that she doesn't necessarily like. So she takes those gifts, and we have a spot in our house, in our closet, for gifts she doesn't like. So when White Christmas comes, or something like that, we grab one of those gifts, wrap it, so we have to buy it. So Christmas time comes, and my wife loves candles, but she doesn't love any candles that smell like food. She doesn't like that. So we had a candle that smelled like food, and she didn't like the way it looked. It looked a little gaudy for her. So she decided, you know what, I'm just going to take it, and I'm going to give it to somebody. And then she knows my mom's like my mom likes candles, and she likes any kind of candles. She's like, you know what, I'm just going to wrap it and just add it to the gift. It's not really a big important gift. She wraps it up. And then my mom goes over the present, and when she opens her main present. It wasn't her main present. And then she opens a candle, and my wife kind of got convicted about it and said, listen, just so you know, this was given to me. If you don't like it, it's not a big deal. I don't like it. I hate that candle. That's why I gave it to you. If you want to throw it away, it's fine. Do whatever you want. Just get rid of it, okay? Then it comes around to my wife's turn to open her present, and she gets a present from my sister. And she goes to open the present. You guys already know where this is going. She goes to open the present, and wouldn't you know it, it's the exact same candle that she just got finished telling my mom how much she hated. So my brother and I just sit back and go, this is awesome, and we're going to watch this. And then my wife goes on to explain, well, it's not that bad. I actually kind of like it like that. She feels guilty about it. So I can just imagine my sister has all this hope of like, man, I know she likes candles, I know my sister-in-law, she likes candles, I'm going to buy her a candle. And she wraps it up, and she's excited to give her the gift, and then she sees it open for my mom, and then she hears my wife tell her how much she's going to hate the present she's about to get. My sister's like, oh no, she's about to get that exact candle. It was awesome. It was one of my favorite Christmas memories. My sister was hoping, when you buy someone a present, you hope they're going to like it. You don't always know, but you hope they're going to like it. I hope for a lot of things in life. Christmas time comes, there's a lot of things I hope I get. I hope, as a sports fan, I hope that the Ravens win today. I always hope that the Orioles win. They rarely do, but I always hope that, right? When I play games, I always hope I win, because I am competitive, and I want to win every game I play. Why play if you don't want to win, right? So get out of here if you don't want to win. I want to win every game I play. I hope I win. Here's a legitimate hope that I have. I hope my kids don't grow up to be brats. I really hope that. That's like a worry of me. Like if I see another kid who's kind of bratty, I'm like, I hope my kid doesn't turn out to be like that. I really hope that. There's a lot of things that I hope for. But those hopes aren't really hopes. They're more like wishes, right? Because like, if I lose in a game, yeah, I don't like to lose, but it doesn't really matter. If the Ravens lose today, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really affect me. Those aren't really hopes. They're more like wishes, because in order to be a real hope, there has to be weight to it. You have to have some weight behind what you're hoping for. See, so today we don't want to talk about some wishes that we want. Today we want to talk about real hope. Here's what hope is. Hope is trusting things will get better, even though your circumstances say it won't. Hope is trusting that things will get better, that things will improve, that your circumstances will get better, even though your circumstances are screaming to you, this is never going to get better. Hope is trusting that things will get better, even though your circumstances say it won't. Even though everything in your situation says it's not going to. And we all have to go through times and situations where we have trouble coping with our current situation. We have trouble coping with our current circumstances. And when we go through those times, then we find true hope. We find hope then. So the question I want us to wrestle with today as we continue to talk about the Christmas story is this. How do we find hope when we feel like we can't cope? When you're in that situation in life where you feel like you can't cope with that current situation, when you're in that situation where everything's going the wrong way and you are hoping for something to turn out better. You are hoping to be married by now. You are hoping to have a kid by now. You are hoping that your spouse will be different than they are now. You are hoping to have that job now. Whatever that hope is, you are hoping that things would have been better by now. Whatever that hope is, when we are having trouble coping with our current situation, how do we find hope? How do we find hope when we feel like we can't cope? We're going to be talking from Luke chapter 2. If you have your Bibles, you can open to Luke chapter 2. Luke chapter 2, we're going to actually start at verse 25 for you. But last week, if you were here last week, we talked about the beginning of the Christmas story. Nothing about Jesus. We talked about the birth of John. That was the beginning of the Christmas story because the birth of John was the first time God did anything in 400 years. Look at Malachi. Malachi was the last book of the Old Testament to Luke, which is one of the Gospels. There was 400 years of silence from God until John showed up, until Gabriel came and talked to John's parents. So we're going to be actually looking at the story, the Christmas story after Jesus is born. We're going to kind of skip the majority of the Christmas story. And we're going to look at two people that are two examples of people that held on to promises that God gave them, even though their circumstances said that they shouldn't hold on to it anymore. Luke chapter 2, we're going to start at verse 25. Now there was a man in Jerusalem named Simeon. Everyone say Simeon. There we go. Man in Jerusalem named Simeon, who was righteous and devout. He was waiting for the consolation of Israel, and the Holy Spirit was on him. It had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he would not die before he had seen the Lord's Messiah. So let me give you some background on this. Simeon works in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is like the religious center back then for all the Israelites. When you had a child and you wanted to dedicate them to God, you would take them to Jerusalem. And Simeon was one of the people that would take that child and would circumcise them and devote them to God and do the ritual acts you're supposed to as an Israelite. So Simeon is in Jerusalem, and it says he is a righteous and devout person. That means he's a good person. That he is in right standing with God. That he is following all the laws in the Old Testament. If you've ever read Leviticus, there's a ton of laws. He's following all them, and if he's not, he does what he needs to in order to be in right standing with God. So he is a righteous and devout man. He did everything that he was supposed to do. And he is waiting for the consolation of Israel, which means that he is waiting for the hope and the promise of the Messiah. See, all of the Israelites back then, they believed and they kept hearing about the Messiah that was eventually going to come. They were waiting for that Messiah to come. Simeon is told that he's not going to die until he meets that Messiah that they've been waiting for years, for a long time. You can kind of defer in all this that Simeon was old. When you read the whole story, you kind of tell that he was an older man. So he's probably been waiting for years and years and years for the Messiah to come. So his job, every time a baby comes, I can just imagine it. Every time he's hoping, okay, is this the day that I'm finally going to meet the Messiah because God said I'm going to meet the Messiah before I die. And then every year he gets a little older, he gets a little closer to death, but he has to keep waiting and waiting and waiting for this hope. That why would he believe it's going to happen? 400 years of silence have gone by before God spoke. Why would he believe he would actually meet the Messiah? Why would anyone believe God's even doing anything? 400 years of silence. But he is still there hoping to meet the Messiah, trusting in that hope. Then eventually Mary and Joseph show up, and he meets Jesus, and he realizes this is it. The Messiah I've been waiting to meet, I finally meet him. And then he does this prayer, which is an amazing prayer, I think, in verse 29. This is the prayer he gives after he meets Jesus. The Sovereign Lord, as you have promised, you may now dismiss your servant in peace. Says, the thing you promised me, I just got it. You can take me now, God, because I have done what you told me was going to happen. For my eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared in the sight of all nations, a light for revelation to the Gentiles, and the glory of your people, Israel. Simeon understands that our salvation, that he's looking at, he's holding it. That our salvation, what is our salvation? What is Jesus saving us from? He's saving us from our own sin, and he's saving us from death. Simeon understands that he is witnessing our salvation. Simeon understands that Jesus is here not to just deliver the Jews and help the Jews and the Israelites become this great kingdom again, because that's what people believed. Back then, They believed that the Messiah was going to come as a religious leader, or the Messiah was going to come as a political leader, and the Messiah was going to make the Jewish people, the Israelites, the top kingdom again. Like, make Israel great again would have been the slogan of that Messiah, right? They believed that the Messiah was going to come and do that. But Simeon understands that the Messiah is not coming to make the Jewish people the best. The Messiah is coming to save everybody, to save all people, including Gentiles, save all people. Simeon understands that the thing he's been waiting for and hoping for so long, even though his circumstances said he was never going to meet him, the thing he'd been waiting for, he finally got to meet. And then we meet the second person in this story, in verse 36. There was also a prophet, Anna. Everyone say Anna. The daughter of Penuel of the tribe of Asher. She was very old, and she had lived with her husband 7 years after her marriage, and then was a widow until she was 84. So, let me give some background on Anna. She did not have a good upbringing. She's part of the tribe of Asher. If you know the Old Testament, then you might know this. If you don't, let me give you some background. In the Old Testament, the Israelites split up at one point into 12 different tribes. And the tribe of Asher was one of those tribes. They were part of northern Israel. And some of the tribes, they would rebel against God. So back then, the Israelites were not the biggest army. They were not the biggest nation. They could not just defeat enemies. The only way they could was with God on their side. So whenever the Israelite people would be at war with God, God would say, okay, try to beat them without me, and they would always lose. That's what always happened. The tribe of Asher was a tribe that rebelled against God. So the Assyrians came in, and God allowed the Assyrians to take over the tribe of Asher. So Anna, she is from the tribe of Asher. She is from, that's her background, her upbringing. Her ancestors were captives in their history. So she comes from a captivity background, and then she says that she's very old. She's had a husband for 7 years. That's not very long, 7 years. And now she's 84. She's been a widow ever since then. Been a widow for a very, very, very long time. That's a bad circumstance. Being a woman back then was hard, let alone being a widow back then was even harder. So she's having to deal with a terrible background, with a terrible upbringing, plus she was married for 7 years and now she's a widow and going through that pain. So what does she do with all that pain and these circumstances that are hard to cope with? Here's what she does in verse 37. She never left the temple, but worshiped night and day, fasting and praying. Even with all the circumstances, saying, why are you still following this silent God? Why are you still doing this God that hasn't done you any favors? She's still in the temple, worshiping night and day, fasting and praying. Coming up to them at that very moment, them being Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, coming up to them at that very moment, she gave thanks to God and spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. So although Anna had every reason to be bitter, every reason to be discontent with her current circumstances, she stayed in the temple. And because of that, she kept hoping that one day she would see the Messiah. And here the Messiah comes. And now that she met the Messiah, she can't stop talking about it. She tells everybody about the redemption of Jerusalem. Simeon and Anna. They both had bad circumstances, but they kept hoping. So what can we learn from this story? Here's our bottom line today. When you can't cope, rely on hope. When you can't cope, rely on hope. When you go through that circumstance that is hard to go through, and you're having trouble understanding why God would allow that to happen to you, and you have trouble coping with it, rely on hope. When you go through that trouble, those hardships, rely on hope. See, being in a situation that is hard to cope with, being in that situation is required for you to understand hope. You cannot understand hope until you go through hardships. It's not possible. I mean, Romans 8:24 says, hope that is seen is no hope at all. Who hopes in what they already have? If you already have it, what are you hoping for? You have to go through hardships in order for you to understand what hope actually is. You have to go through them. And none of us want to, I get it, but we have to go through them. Hardships and situations that are hard to cope with, those situations, they're a prerequisite for you to understand what hope is. Simeon and Anna had every reason to not be able to cope with their current circumstances. But instead, what did they do? They waited. They waited till God fulfilled the promise that they heard. They waited, and they waited, and they waited. How do you know if you have hope in your life? There's one word that indicates whether you have hope in your life. You ready for this word? Patience. Patience is the proof of hope. When you are patient, when you're waiting on God to do what you believe He's going to do, when you wait on God to do what He's called in your life, When you're patient, that's the proof that you have hope. Patience is the proof of hope. I don't know about you, but I'm not the most patient person. I talked about it in our impact group this week, but my kids have made me even more impatient. If you have kids, you understand. Man, they can really test your patience. My kids, Brooklyn and Savannah mainly, they're old enough where they can put their own shoes on now, which is great. And they can put their own jacket on. That's great. So a lot of times if I'm getting all three of the kids together, I'm getting the diaper bag ready and making sure that Noah has formula. I'm getting Noah situated because Noah can't do any of that stuff. Brooklyn, Savannah, I say Brooklyn, mainly Brooklyn because she's the oldest, she should be able to do this. Say, Brooklyn, hey, put your shoes on, Mom, I'm going to do this. And I'll run, I'll go do some other stuff, and I come back, and Brooklyn's still playing other stuff. I say, Brooklyn, I said, can you put your shoes on, please? Please put your shoes on. Yes, Dad. Okay, and I walk, and I get some other stuff again. No, I come back. And for the fourth time, which it almost always hits the fourth time, she does not have her shoes on, I flip out. And my patience is gone. And here's what I always say, and sometimes I say it too early, and because I'm a little too impatient, I go, Brooklyn! And right where she loves to go, what did I tell you to do? And right, she goes, and then starts crying, and then it doesn't help me, because now I got to deal with a crying Brooklyn, and Savannah's over there just dancing away. She doesn't care what's happening. My kids have brought out impatience in my life. Like, it's hard for me to be patient because my kids just test it over and over and over. One thing we talked about in our small group is that every time you're in a situation where you feel like, oh, I'm being really impatient, it's really hard to be patient. Every time, that's God telling you, I'm growing your patience right now. So every time my daughter won't put her shoes on and I'm getting impatient, that's God growing my patience. Every time you're in that line at the grocery store and that person's not looking, I get it, they're going a little too slow. There's times where I'm driving and I don't have to be anywhere, but if you're going slow, I'm going nuts. Like, come on, I gotta go home to do nothing, get out of my way. Every time those situations happen, when you start to find yourself being impatient, guess what? God is growing your patience. If you allow Him, God can grow your patience. And patience is the proof that you have hope. Patience is the proof of hope. I don't know why God makes us go through these hardships in order to understand hope, but we have to. And I have a little illustration that I'm going to just say up front is a really dumb illustration. I've seen a couple pastors do this illustration, and it's dumb. Some of you are going to be like, this is stupid, why am I hearing this? But just humor me, okay? So, this might help you remember this idea of hope or why you have to go through hardship. So, this is a bouncy ball. What does a bouncy ball do? Good job, guys. It bounces. You guys are some smart people. It bounces. It's really going to feel like elementary school, what I'm about to do, okay? So just prepare yourself. Bouncy ball, it bounces. Let me go up here. So a hard surface. When you get to a hard surface, when you try to bounce this bouncy ball, it bounces pretty easily, right? The harder the surface, the easier it is to bounce. In my house, what we'll do is we'll find a really small room and just chuck it and watch it fling everywhere. Yeah. But the harder the surface, the easier it is to bounce. When it's really hard, it can really bounce high. Now, what if I took a pillow and tried to bounce this on a pillow? What would happen? Because it's a soft surface, it's not very hard. What would happen? It doesn't bounce. Oh no! It doesn't really bounce, does it? It needs to be a hard surface in order for it to bounce. The harder situation you go through, when you go through a hard situation in life, it's going to be hard. You're not going to like it. None of us like that. But that's life, right? Life, there's sin in this world, there's bad things that happen, death happens, sickness happens, we all go through it. When you go through that situation, you have a choice. You can decide, well, why would God allow me to go through this? Or you can be like this bouncy ball and say, you know what? My situation sucks. I don't like this situation. But God can help me come back. God can help me understand hope a little better. God can help me take this situation and use it for His glory. God can do that in my life if I allow Him to. I can have hope. Because even though this is really hard, and I don't like it, but the comeback is going to be even better. And people are going to be able to see God because of the way I go through this hardship. You have that choice. You can use those hardships and those things that are hard in your life and have hope and grow your hope through it, or you can decide to let those hardships take you out. That's your choice. Some of us, we have been waiting and waiting and waiting for something. And we're running out of hope. You're going through a hardship. Say, God, why am I not married yet? God, why do I not have that kid yet? God, why do I not have that perfect job yet? Why do I not have this? When you go through those hardships, if you're patient, you will understand hope better. I can give you example after example after example in the Bible of God allowing people to go through hardships in order to glorify Himself. I'll give you a couple. Moses Moses sees the burning bush, and the burning bush tells him, which is God, tells him, hey, go to Pharaoh and ask to let my people go. He goes, how many times does Moses have to ask Pharaoh before he lets his people go? 10 times. And on the 10th time, he says yes, and then Pharaoh changes his mind. And even the Bible even says that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. So why would God tell Moses to go do something that he knows is not going to work? Why? So that he can be glorified more. So that when Moses gets to the Red Sea, and the Red Sea parts, and they walk through, and they look back, and the Red Sea comes back, instead of going around it, they go through it. They say, wow, look at the glory that God has done. Look what God has done in my life. Look what God has done in this. And it increases their faith, and it increases their hope in him. Let's talk about David. Why did God have to use a little shepherd boy with a little slingshot and a pebble to beat this giant? Couldn't he have used a soldier? Of course he could have. But he allowed it to be harder so that he can be glorified. He allowed it to be harder so that David's hope can increase. Let's talk about Joseph. And I'm not talking about Joseph from the Christmas story, but Joseph in the technical dream coat Joseph in the Old Testament. He's promised amazing things in his life. He's going to be a ruler, and that people are going to be bowing to him, and that he's going to do great things for God. But you know what happens in between then? Joseph gets betrayed by his brothers, gets beat up, gets sold into slavery, and then while he's in jail and in slavery, he is falsely accused of sexual misconduct and goes to jail for a while. Why did that have to happen? Because God allowed the hardships to happen so that he can be glorified. So that Joseph can have true hope. Well, that's why he allowed it to happen. Let's look at Mary. Mary, she was a teenage mom at a time where you don't want to be a teenage mom. She's a virgin. She has to explain to people that she's a virgin teenage mom. How hard is that? And then when they go to give birth to Jesus, they can't even have a hotel room. They have to do it in a barn. Why did it have to be so hard? Let's look at Jesus' example. Jesus goes to a cross and dies the worst death you could possibly have. Is humiliated, is beaten, is spit on, is mocked. Why did it have to be so hard? God allowed it to be so hard so that he can be glorified. Some of you are going through hardships. He is allowing it so that if you let him, he will be glorified. And you'll make it out of it, and you won't know how. You go, God did something. Your faith will increase, you will trust God more, and you'll have more hope in him. Let's try to think of a personal example. And if you've been here for a while, you've heard me talk about this church plan, and that's a story in itself of just how that had to be a lot harder than it needed to be. That's still not the easiest. But there's another example I thought of. Before I met my wife, I was talking to this girl for a long time. I was a guy that always wanted to be married. I wanted to find that person to be married to. And I was in my 20s at this point. That's like the prime age of you're trying to find your spouse. And I met this girl that I really liked. The problem was she had a boyfriend. That's a pretty big problem. Eventually they broke up. I was like, this is my opportunity. She was a good Christian girl. She had a good head on her shoulders. Like I dated some other people that were not that, were bad examples. But this was a good Christian girl. I was like, finally, God has brought somebody that will be the person. Because I was going into ministry, and not a lot of people want to sign up to be a pastor's wife. So this is a good Christian girl. So we went on a couple dates, and every date we went on, she wouldn't call it a date. And even though I felt like it was a date, I paid like it was a date, but she wouldn't call it a date. And then I eventually made my intentions clear that I really liked her and I was interested. She says, I know, but I just broke up with my ex-boyfriend and I'm still working on that. I said, okay, I'll be a gentleman. I'll wait. I'll wait for you to be ready. And this lasted for like 6 months. Eventually I got an email from her. You heard that right? An email here. Telling me that, hey, that ex-boyfriend, I think I'm going to give it another chance for them. And I was so mad. Well, I was mad at her, of course. But I was also mad at God. Like, God, how much longer do I have to wait to find that person? Because everybody wants to find that person, right? How much longer do I have to wait to find that person? I was mad. Eventually, I met my wife. And when I met her, it was so like relieving the fact that I would go on a date and she would actually call it a date. And I was like, man, this is how it's actually supposed to be? This is the way? And we got engaged within less than 6 months, which was really quick. And then we were married in 8 months. And people say, well, that's really crazy. Why would you do that? And I get it. It is pretty crazy. But I kept waiting for like what was wrong with her. Like, and I'm still waiting. 7 years of marriage, I'm still waiting. What is wrong with her? Like, why is she still around? God allowed me to go through terrible relationships, which I did, so that when I got a relationship that was worth it, I understood it better. Some of you are going through terrible situations, so that when you're out of that situation, you will understand it better. You don't understand hope if you have it all. We have to go through hardships in life. And here's what you need to understand, then I'm done, and we're going to play a closing song, and we'll let you guys go. Without Jesus, there is no hope. You don't have hope if there is no Jesus. He is hope. There is no hope without him. None. He is our only hope. He is the reason we can spend eternity with God, not because we're anything special, not because we've worked and earned it, but because he came and he lived the perfect life to show us how to live, and then came and died for your sins and for mine on the cross so that we don't have to be defeated by our own sin and defeated by death. We only have hope in life because of Jesus. If you don't have Jesus, you don't have hope. What are you going to hope in? The government? Finances? Yourself? There is no hope without Jesus. Jesus is the hope of this world. Advent, I don't know if those of you that know Advent. Advent started today with hope. Advent is the season of anticipation, waiting for Jesus to come. Everyone back then knew that the Messiah was coming. They were hoping for the Messiah was going to save them. Some people thought he was going to save them to make a kingdom better. He didn't come to do that. He came to make God's kingdom better. He came to save you. You have a hope because of Jesus, because of what he has done. So when you go through situations where you're having trouble coping with it, you can look at it as, why would God do that to me? Or you can look at it as an opportunity for you to understand hope better. That's how you can look at it. As an opportunity for you to understand Jesus better. As an opportunity for you to grow closer to God. When you can't cope, rely on hope. Patience is the proof that you have hope. Can we pray together? Dear God, I pray for everyone in this room. I just pray that during this Christmas season, this busy time of year, that you help them to rely on you, our only hope in this world. It's easy to rely on ourselves, or rely on our own work, or rely on somebody else, but God, help us to rely on you, the only hope we have. God, I pray for the people that are going through hardships. Pray for the people that are having trouble coping with their current situation. I pray for the people that are waiting for something. It's easy to lose hope. It's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to start to question why you're allowing this to happen. But God, help us to remember that when we're in that situation, you're helping us grow. You're helping us grow closer to you. You're helping us grow as people. Helping us understand what hope actually is. I thank you for giving us that hope for your Son. For sending your Son to die for us so that we can have a hope in this world. And I pray that throughout this Christmas season, that we don't forget about hope. That we don't forget that you are our only hope. We love you. We give you this day. In your Son's name, amen. I wanted to play one last closing song before you guys leave. This is our theme song for